Hi, I'm Father Jim Martin, Associate Editor of America Magazine. And for the last few weeks, we've been talking about different kinds of prayer. Last week, we talked about praying in nature and praying with nature. Today, we're going to talk about journaling, which is not only a technique to help you with your prayer, but can also be prayer itself. When most people think about journaling, they think about writing about their prayer after they're finished, which is sort of the main thing I want to talk about today. Journaling, I think, is very important for people who have had an important prayer experience because you tend to forget what happens in your prayer. So let's take an example. Let's say you're on retreat and you have this really moving experience, or even in your daily life, if you have something extraordinary that happens to you that reminds you of God. It's good to write it down. You don't have to spend a lot of time writing it down, maybe just 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day. Because what happens is we tend to forget these things. It can be the most marvelous and insightful revelation you've ever had, but in a few days you'll find that you not only start to forget what happened, but that you even start to doubt it. St. Ignatius would say it's the evil spirit sort of pulling you away from that feeling of trust. So journaling not only helps you to remember what happened, it also helps you to trust what happened, that what happened is true and real and something to pay attention to. So that's the most common way of using a journal. Dorothy Day liked to say that she used a journal also to help her see how problems that once seemed insurmountable would be solved. So by looking over your journal, you can see the process of solving problems and dealing with things, and also the progress of your own soul under the tutelage of God. But there's another way that we can look at journaling related to prayer, and that's actually journaling as prayer. Also called meditative writing. You know, there's a wonderful book called Birth, A Guide to Prayer that I like, and it's written by Jacqueline Syrup Bergen and Marie Schwann, came out about 10 years ago. And they talk about meditative prayer like this. Meditative writing is like writing a letter to one we love. Memories are recalled, convictions are clarified, and affections well up within us. In writing, we may discover that emotions are intensified and prolonged. Because of this, journaling can also serve in identifying and healing hidden feelings such as anger, fear, and resentment. So what are they talking about? Well, basically, you can write contemplatively. The most common way of doing this is writing a letter to God. Now, I know that sounds a little cheesy and kind of gimmicky, but frequently in prayer, it's hard to focus. Your mind is all over the place. When you actually sit down at a desk or a table and write out a letter to God saying, God, this is how I'm feeling, I need help with this, thank you for this, it can be very clarifying and focusing in a way that mental prayer often is not. Sometimes you can write, as these authors like to suggest, a conversation also between you and God or you and Jesus. Now remember, we talked early on about imaginative prayer, about Ignatian contemplation, and the way that God can work through your imagination. So it can help you identify the Spirit of God moving within you, and can also free you up to experience God in a new way. You might also try answering a question. So, for example, the question we talked about a few weeks ago, the question that Jesus poses to Bartimaeus, the blind man sitting beside the road. He says, what do you want me to do for you? Now in prayer, once again, that can sometimes be hard because of distractions, or there's so much that we want God or we would like God to do for us. Writing a letter as an answer to that question, as if you were speaking to God, is one way of helping to focus you a little bit. So all those ways, I think, are ways to help you increase your connection with God. Journaling in terms of recording what happened in prayer is really important as a way of helping you remember and helping you trust about what happened in your prayer. But journaling in terms of meditative writing can be a way of freeing you up and focusing you to experience God in a new way. So go to the drugstore, buy a cheap journal, doesn't have to be anything expensive, and see what happens.